Welcome back, everybody. It's Wednesday, February 28th. Now, remember that this year's leap year, so we get an extra 24 hours of February tomorrow. Born on this date, a pair of Hank Williams connected folks. In 1923, Miss Audrey Mae Shepherd Williams, Hank's first wife and Hank Jr.'s mom. She was from Banks in Pike County. And in 1927, steel guitarist Don Helms of New Brockton. He was in Hank's Driftin' Cowboys band. Now, a quick note that we've decided against following Wendy's and going to a surge pricing model for this podcast. We hired a non-journalist to calculate how much revenue a 50% increase on a free show might generate. And it turns out it's not worth the Twitter backlash. Today, we have updates on the explosive device outside the AG's office, the judge who was stabbed and shot, allegedly by his son, more on the in vitro saga, and school choice. I'm Mike Morgan, and we're down in Alabama. A couple stories happened over the weekend that we have not yet mentioned, so we have some updates today. First, the FBI has now launched a website to gather information on an explosive device that was detonated at 3:42 a.m. Saturday morning in front of Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall's office in Montgomery, reports AL.com's Howard Koplowitz. There were no injuries, no property damage, and not much in details either to this point. Now, the website, fbi.gov/Alabama AG explosion, was built to gather tip submissions. Also, if anyone has information that might help identify persons of interest, they are encouraged to call 1-800-CALL-FBI. Also in Montgomery, a county judge's son has now been charged with attempted murder in the shooting and stabbing of his father, Judge Johnny Hardwick, reports AL.com's Carol Robinson. The son, 36-year-old Calfani Hardwick, was already facing 2 lesser charges. Now, at around 12:30 p.m. Saturday, the judge was stabbed in his neck and shot in his face in his home. Back in 2017, the younger Hardwick managed to receive a plea deal for a second-degree assault conviction after he shot a man in the back of the head and, according to court documents, left him for dead. According to records, he received a 3-year suspended sentence with 3 years probation. And after 19 months on probation, he received an early release from Montgomery County Circuit Judge John E. Rochester so he could sit for a CPA certification class. The release came over the objection of the Alabama Attorney General's office. Judge Hardwick is being treated in a Birmingham hospital. We mentioned last Friday that U.S. Senator Tommy Tuberville was likely to make another run in explaining his position on the Alabama Supreme Court's decision that allowed human embryos to have the same legal rights as children. The reason was that Tuberville, when he was asked for his take by an NBC reporter, said he was all for the ruling, but also said that we have to have more kids, which, considering that decision seemingly jeopardizes in vitro fertilization services, means there was a misunderstanding about the question or the court's ruling. Well, AL.com's Greg Garrison reports that Tuberville went on ABC News Tuesday and said the court made the wrong move. Now, that puts most major Alabama voices on this part of the issue in the pro-IVF camp, although you could see political wrangling over how actions made now might affect personhood issues going forward. Last week, Democrats introduced a bill in the State House of Representatives to clarify that embryos stored outside the body are not considered human lives under state law. And Republican Attorney General Steve Marshall issued a statement that he had no intention of prosecuting any patient or clinic for their handling of embryos for IVF purposes. And now, reports AL.com's Howard Koplowitz, State Senator Tim Melson, a Florence Republican, has introduced a bill in the Senate that would give civil and criminal immunity to providers related to IVF services. Also in the state legislature, the Alabama House has passed the CHOOSE Act, reports AL.com's Tricia Powell Crane. Now, that's the school choice bill that would create $7,000 education savings accounts for families that could use that funding toward private school, homeschool, or other educational costs. The bill prioritizes low-income families and students with disabilities, with plans to phase in options for more eligible families. Well, thank y'all so much for listening to us. We're going to be back here again tomorrow. Till then, y'all come by and see what we're up to on the internet at al.com.